Time to talk about games. Stress, ethology, math, and play. Games are one of the things that I am the most passionate about. I love doing games. I've been doing games since the beginning of I've been doing nose work. I think games are a fascinating way to understand your own behavior. And a lot of people have this misunderstanding of why I do games and what games are, and they focus on the play aspect. They focus on the fact that games are fun because they think fun in games. That's the mimetic idea there. And yeah, that's important, but that's not really the reason I do games. The reason I do games is because of math, ethology, and stress, right? And we're going to go into each of those right now. The main reason people fail competition is not because they lack any kind of skill. It's because they don't know how to deal with competition stress. The competition stress, usually the first time they feel it is their first trial, or maybe their first mock trial, something along those lines. And that's, in a way, that's unfair because they can train for this ahead of time. And the best way to do that is by doing games. Games are competitive. Games are naturally stress-inducing. They cause people to have stress. There's a trend in the dog training world right now of trying to eliminate stress from your dog's life in every form. And I think that's really terrible. I think that you shouldn't try to eliminate stress. There's actually a technical word for the elimination of all stress. It's called atrophy, right? Atrophy is a bad thing. The goal shouldn't be to eliminate stress. The goal should be to optimize the dog's stress level so that it's working within its tolerances, but then also to reframe stress so that it's not negative and it's positive. We can feel about stress any way we want to. Happiness is stress, right? But happiness is the kind of stress we enjoy. Anger is also stress. Some people enjoy being angry, but most people don't. So the main reason I do games is because how it induces stress. I can control the stress level of a classroom by the games that we play. I can help make people more resilient to stress and competition. And hopefully when they get to competition, they don't feel like it's stressful, but that doesn't mean it's not stressful. It just means they're able to cope with the level of stress that they're under. Next, let's talk about ethology. Ethology is the study of animal behavior in its natural environment. You're going to hear a little bit about this in every single lecture, but that ties naturally into stress and to play, and to the next section, which is math. The first idea is that dogs are social predators, and that we're constantly feeding them information back and forth about how we're feeling, and that's affecting the way the dog's feeling. Dogs have specific strategies about how to cope with this and how to play with their owners. And we often don't take that into account when we're working with them. Understanding how your attitude and energy affects your dog is going to be key in learning how to maximize their effectiveness in a search. And ethology is going to help you do that. And games is a way for a trainer to help shape your environment that you're in so that we can provoke the right attitudes and responses from both you and your dog. Math. Game theory has been strongly connected to ethology for a long time. Ethology uses a lot of game theoretical models in their understanding of animal behavior. And game theory is a branch of mathematics. And I'll link a video in the comments, which is a really user-friendly, simple way of introducing you to game theory. But basically, game theory isn't just about games like chess or basketball or anything like that, although you can use game theoretical models to understand those games. Game theory is about studying every interaction and decision you can make where there are resources on the line. Every single time you train with your dog, I consider that to be a game. Understanding how you play games in such a way that makes you and your team flourish or diminishes the flourishing of your team, that is what game theory is about to me. That we tend to make decisions based on things that we don't even know are happening. So for example, people become super emotionally traumatized by the word alert because in NW3, the way the game is weighted, the false alerting is basically like failing the whole day. So I've met people who have found 14 out of 15 hides at a trial and leave devastated, right? Which is absurd. 14 out of 15 hides is really good. You should be very happy. But because of the way the points are weighted, they feel like that whole day is terrible, right? Which is crazy. That is the way game theory is affecting us in ways we don't know. That wasn't the intention of making the alert and, ruining the whole day. That was never the intention. The intention was just to test the skill of the dogs and handlers, but it had the unintentional side effect of negatively impacting your ability to cope with your own performance. I see that. You're not even in NW3, just in a regular classroom, and you can see people afraid of saying alert because of the trauma they've experienced in NW3. Using games can help balance that out, so that handlers who are traumatized in one area can be untraumatized in another, and you can end up with the best of both worlds. I think you should be a little bit worried about calling alert, but not so worried that you don't call clear, obvious alerts from your dog, right? That's only one example of games we play with our dogs that have no possibility of winning for either us or our dog. And we're totally sabotaging ourselves when we do these kinds of things. I'm also, just to be clear, not advocating that you shouldn't do NW3s. I think you should, but you need to approach them with the right attitude because it's all in your head. But anyways, let's talk about play. And I went through a lot of photos of kids playing to find the right one for the slideshow. And one of the things that I noticed of all of them was how much synchronization was involved. Just look at all these kids and how many kids are copying themselves. I mean, just look, these two kids in the corner here, both touching their hats, right? Look at these two both climbing. Two kids going up the stairs. They're all mimicking each other. That's an important part of game. Games are fun, yeah, but games are serious activity. That's from Dog Language by Roger Brannis. Ethologists have known this for a long time. Animals don't play because it's fun. Fun is a byproduct of play, but animals play because it's serious and important for survival. It's about learning how to synchronize yourself with the members of your community. It's about learning life skills that's going to protect you in the future from predators, or who's going to allow you to capture prey, right? So don't neglect how important play is and how important it is to establishing relationships and building routines. So another important thing about play that I find fascinating is how simultaneously, like when I play basketball with a friend, one, there are no stakes. No one's going to die. But when we're playing, we act as if it's the only thing that's important. And so, predator-prey games that dogs play are about killing and being killed, but no one actually dies. So they're simultaneously no stakes and all the stakes in the world. They're very serious and very trivial at the same time. Balancing those extremes is so critical, and that's why play is such an amazing tool, because you can do some very amazing things in it that are trivial at the same time. So really contemplate that when you're playing games with your dog, because that's what you're doing anytime you're doing nose work. No bombs involved, right? So you can greatly improve your team's relationship by doing this. Games can improve any mechanical skill. They can make skills instant practical. Now, if you're a trainer, you understand what I'm talking about, because you can be telling your students something and they don't understand it, or they understand it, but because it's not in the moment, they aren't able to enact it, and so understand practically, even if they understand theoretically. With a game, you can instantly make any of those skills practical so that they can go, oh, I understand why that's important now, right? Sometimes that takes years for them to get into the right situation where they understand why my trainer is telling me to do something in a particular way that doesn't make any sense. But games can allow you to facilitate that. Games also facilitate certain attitudes and emotional states so that you can fix some like trauma that we talked about and promote risk-taking or not risk-taking, or, depending on what you want, and playing the game correctly is how you do that. It's not about the game itself, it's about learning how to play the games. So that's another distinction that's worth understanding. It can improve relationships, not just between you and your dog, but between you and your instructor and the students in your class. It improves all those relationships by reducing stress, and not just reducing stress, but actually increasing stress in a funny way, because increasing stress also builds relationships. If you guys all go through an ordeal together, you're going to be that much better friends. It also can teach important life lessons. And that's something I find truly valuable about games, is that you learn about yourself, you learn about your dog, and there are things that you can learn from a game. These games are not for play. They're for developing life skills in animals too. You learn so much about yourself and about life, and over trying and under trying, and how to compete gracefully and not be a jerk. Those kinds of things are all really important. So the last thing I want to leave you with is this idea I got from a psychologist I thought was brilliant. And what he said was, you tell children it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And he says that this is totally mystifying to children because there's points and a goal. So obviously the point is to win. So what could you mean? It doesn't matter if you win or lose, but it's how you play the game. And he said he was finally able to sum up what this means. It means that you should play the game in such a way that you get invited to come back and play again. Okay? It's not about winning or losing. If you win in such a way that nobody else wants to play with you in the future, you've eliminated yourself from that community, from all the possible games you could have played in the future. And if you lose in such a way that nobody wants to play with you again, same problem. So it's about how you play so that you can keep playing. And when you're setting up games, you need to set up games that are set up so that you and your dog keep wanting to play together, and not games that you guys want to stop playing with each other. So think about that, and that's my basic theory lesson for games. Make sure that you keep an eye out for all the game lessons that we'll be posting soon. We want to get our entire game catalog up on this website so that you guys can start running them in your classes and understand why we do them. And I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you guys next time.